Hey everybody, welcome to Wild, Creative, and Confident, a video interview series where you can learn from the most inspiring industry leaders on how you can use your passion and creativity to design the life and business of your dreams. I'm your host, Sarah Marie Thompson from wildandcreative.com, the creative success coach, and today I have with me Maru, Iabichela.
Yes.
So Maru is the happy entrepreneur. She's a life, image, and business coach who's extremely passionate about seeing others reach their potential and creating their own success.
Absolutely.
So welcome, Maru.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I'm so glad you reached out. I can't believe we're doing this interview and we haven't really interacted that much before, but I can't wait to dive in.
I bet we're going to talk about some really good things.
So I think people are really going to be I'm going to get a lot of good stuff out of our talk today.
So I just want to kind of talk about this first. You love helping people. You're very passionate. You're obviously very skilled. Creativity obviously is a huge part of your life. How do you see creativity in your day-to-day?
That's something that I didn't really start tapping into probably until my second year of entrepreneurship. I worked in corporate for 10 years and it was a very reactive environment. I didn't have a lot of room for creativity. And but I did know that what I was doing wasn't filling me up, right? So when I turned 30, I decided I was going to quit that career and I was going to start my own business as a speaker and coach because I have been certified since 2011. But I thought that being an entrepreneur and being a coach was all about coaching, right? And I could just coach a couple of people, 3 people, make $1,000, $1,500 a month, and I would be happy. I didn't really know the potential at the time. I didn't know the potential that this could have, to impact the world and not just 2, 3 people at a time. And so I didn't really discover the power of creativity and the creativity I had in me, to be completely honest, until probably a year and a half into it when I was struggling and I realized that I needed to get more creative and not so reactive, right? And I love what Steve Chandler says, reactive and creative have the same exact words in it, the same exact words. They're just the letters are different. And it wasn't until I was struggling that I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Do I go back and get a job? That I started getting more creative and I found different ways to express my creativity, right? Through webinars, through calls, through PDFs, through whatever. But I was very naive to creativity, to be completely honest with you. As soon as when I stepped into entrepreneurship, I never stepped into entrepreneurship thinking, oh, it's because I'm going to be creative. No, I thought I don't know what I was thinking, but that never resonated with me until after I had to really run out of savings, run out of money, and I started having to get creative, right? To figure out how to get clients and how to keep them engaged and how to put what I knew in a content in a way that could get to them. So it's a fairly new concept to me. Now the well is open, I'm tapped in, and it's like a gush. It's like it comes through and I can't stop it. And it calls for a lot of expansion. Let's put it that way.
So you've created your own creative life through trial and error, right? And moving through a whole bunch of different things. And then I want to ask you this. When it comes to being creative online, you really have to be creative to stand out. So because there is, in a sense, there's different competition, right? How has competition really got to you in the past, or has it not got to you?
It was really bad at the beginning, to be completely honest with you. And if you're in your first year and a half, I will tell you that it's very overwhelming to see everyone doing their thing out there and you have no idea where to start. You have no idea how you're ever going to get yourself to having $10,000 clients or 10,000 clients. And so for me, because I compared myself a lot and I would see those people, and instead of letting them inspire me, I would compare myself, and I was comparing my beginning to their middle or to their end, right? It got me into a lot of trouble, financial trouble. It got to be pretty good. I mean, I fell for like every program Gina DeVee would put out, like the business school this, business school that. And it's because I wanted to have what they had. And, but from a fear standpoint, like if I don't get this, then I won't, right?
Right.
If I don't grab this, or if I don't learn from this person, then I won't get there. And so I don't think, I think I was coming at it from like fear, like, oh, I need to have that. And I forgot about patience. I forgot about the process of incubation and germination that all dreams have to go through. I forgot to trust myself. It really got to me pretty good. And it's funny, I shared with my mastermind this morning about how I've reframed comparisonitis right into my own life. Like now I actually, if someone is out there doing something amazing, because I'm much more secure in myself, I turned it into inspiration. I was like, wow, thank you for showing me what's possible. Thank you. Right? I choose to do it my way. I choose to stay in my path. I choose to stay in my lane because I just find that comparisonitis totally takes you out, like energetically, physically, emotionally, and it just takes you out. You know what I mean? And so it's not worth it to me anymore. But I would say I suffered from it a lot the first year and a half to 2 years.
So did you always know that you would get to a place where you are right now? Deep down?
Yeah. Deep down, yes. If you had asked me, what is your level of belief that one day you're going to create a movement and you're going to do something, I would have always told you 10 or 9 or something like that. So the belief has been there, the capacity to accept it and receive it into my life and actually step into it and take the actions necessary to start the ripple effects. No, it's not been there always. It is now for sure.
So I know right now you're doing a lot of work around receiving and helping others really get just into the flow of receiving, into the flow of abundance, whatever that means for them. So how have you been able to personally allow the universe to provide you all that you have now?
Girl, those are amazing questions. Okay, so how have I allowed the universe to provide me?
Yeah.
All that I have now. Curiosity, I would definitely say curiosity, exploring, right? Like I find that instead of resisting what happens, I don't know if I got this by osmosis, by listening to a lot of podcasts in 2006 and 2007 when I was really into self-help after having a massive crisis, like personal crisis. I dove deeply into self-help and I just absorbed a lot of things that got ingrained in me. And since then, I would say between that and Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey and a lot of metaphysical work that I did back in probably up until 2009, I studied metaphysics quite a bit. I would say that I really learned to be more curious, to explore, and to know that everything in somehow, some way was happening for me, right? And that I was being provided in that way. And sometimes it's not the way that I wanted it to be, but somehow innately or somehow I learned not to discriminate the blessings and to understand that everything comes from the same place. It's not like this bad stuff comes from one pipe and the other one comes from here. It's like it's all happening and being it's flowing to you for a reason, for your betterment, right? And for your improvement and for your highest and greatest good. So I think the way that I've allowed the universe to provide me is honestly by truly receiving it and allowing it. And many times I didn't have the capacity to even see what the universe was trying to give me, right? But in my naive ways or in my innocent ways at the time, I just innately knew that even if it was a crisis or a rock bottom or something that I didn't desire, that's not what it was in my vision board. I just knew that I needed to like write it and explore it because I knew that from it, either, I don't know, I would one day be speaking about it on the stage, which is kind of what's happened.
Yeah. So tell me, okay, so if someone, and this has probably happened with many people that you've worked with, so if someone is having a block, say that they're doing, everything that they love to do, they know that they're coming from a place of service, they are, enjoying themselves, just what they're doing is making them happy, but they're not necessarily getting the financial reward, we'll say, that they truly want. Would you say that it's kind of like two parts? Would you say that they're not listening to their intuition in the direction that they're going? Or would you say that it's most likely a block that they have somewhere where they're not allowing, to receive?
I would definitely think it's more of a fear, like a block. There's definitely a fear of rejection. There's definitely a fear of taking more space than you need to, or that you grew up knowing that you needed to take. It's a fear of visibility. It's a fear of being fully seen. If you want to get to the Taylor Swift level or the Oprah level or the Jillian Michaels level, you have to be willing to be seen completely. You have to be willing to receive 1 million offers a day, be followed by the paparazzi, have cameras on you, get tons of emails, have a staff. I mean, you have to be willing to put a lot of stuff out there and receive a lot of stuff, right? And when somebody is not making money, to me, they are too shy. Really, like they're just not making themselves available for money to come through enough. Like they'll do 1 or 2 C things, but then they're not really in people's faces, which is not our nature. Especially as women, we're more like subdued, good girls, you know. And if you're a sensitive or spiritual entrepreneur, which a lot of us are, I definitely have my side like that, and I had it. However, I was pretty broke when that was happening, so I was like, no, I want to help more people, and I have a bigger mission, so I'm going to get out there and be more, you know, a certain way. And so I would definitely say if it's about money, I can guarantee you they are not putting it out there enough. They have a fear of rejection. They have a fear of what other people will think of them. They have a fear of, they're too attached to being safe, you know, and to protecting their ego from being bruised.
Yeah. Okay. So what would you say, like, what can you suggest to the people that are watching that would really, like a tool or a tip or trick that would really help them start receiving more and allowing more receiving in their life? Do you have like a couple of like really go-to methods?
You know, I can show you. I have like 12 so, you know, I've identified just a minimum of 12. There's probably like 100 million. But there's 12 common things that we all do every day. And I can guarantee you, even you do them because, you know, we're human. Okay. That unconsciously are blocking yourself. So slouching. When you get a blessing, you're like, I cannot believe that just happened. Oh my God. When you say I can't believe, you literally denied your blessing. You've told the universe, are you sure you want to give this to me? No, take it back. Yeah. So if I would say one thing, okay, this is a great one. It's I'm calling it the nail it technique, and my friend Jamie does it, and I just kind of adopted it, and I'm making it famous. But we're doing this in the Infinite Receivers group, which is my group, and it's basically if you can wire yourself for like 48 hours, at least 24 hours, where everything you do, go into the bathroom, putting makeup on, putting your PJs on, eating, emailing, doing a coaching session, and everything you do, you just label it, nail it. Nailed it. Nailed it. Nailed it. Nailed it.
Like the Staples thing, it's like, that was easy.
Thank you. I think, you know, I'm writing that down right now, like create a nail it button.
Nailed it.
Yeah, because what I can't even tell you the miracles I've seen happen just when people start saying that. Like, because here's the thing. One of the things I see every day with creative entrepreneurs is that they don't give themselves enough credit. They're very hard on themselves. Their threshold of success is extremely high. So they sell one product and they're like, well, that didn't work. Yeah. Says who? You know what I mean? So it's like we're really hard on ourselves because we think that, I don't know, success has to look a certain way, when in reality, one step forward, one thing, it all needs to be celebrated, right? And so for me, when you start celebrating, like with nail that, like you literally, if you were inside my group yesterday when we did that exercise, it was amazing. And the blessings just start like pouring into you because you shift your negativity of like, well, I don't know if that was good enough, or right. I was a bad mom, or anyway, you know where I'm going. So I would say, I mean, that's a silly one, but that's definitely something. I got to recommend my webinar if you don't mind sharing it with the audience. There's no pitch or anything. It's just really sharing my awakening and how basically everything in our lives that we don't have right now is because we don't have the capacity to receive them. So I had kind of a spiritual awakening, which is what landed me in the land of receiving and teaching more about receiving. And the first epiphany I had was that you don't get what you don't have the capacity to receive. So if you had a goal, Sarah, of I want 3 new clients by next week, you know, let's say I want 3 new clients in May, and that means you have to get 2 more, right, in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And I say, okay, well, what's your level of belief that you can get those 3 clients? Okay, it's pretty good. It's high. It's like an 8. Okay, great. And what's your capacity to receive? what is your capacity to receive 2 more new clients, like full-time clients? Too overwhelming. So what we say oftentimes is from the mouth out, because you don't understand the magnitude of it, right? Like we have Lamborghinis in our vision boards, or maybe a house in the Alps, or you name it, whatever, right? Like I'm on the stage with Oprah, which is one of mine for sure. And I asked myself, okay, what is my level of belief that one day I'm going to create an Oprah-like movement? 8, no problem. Okay, Maru, what is my capacity to receive an opportunity that will create what is my capacity to receive an Oprah lifestyle like right now? And I will tell you, extremely low. I'm going through many transitions in my personal life. So even though I want that and I have the belief I can have it, that doesn't mean I'm ready to receive it.
Yeah. Like if someone was going to give that to you right now, you would be like, just friggin' scared.
Yeah, and that's what I found when I got my first big break in my entrepreneurial journey. It was after I hit rock bottom and almost filed bankruptcy. And because that was so scary, and I went through a lot of shame admitting my financial woes to my family and my partner at the time, which we could do a whole interview just in shame, right? And shame and guilt and and the money, right? Like what we invest in entrepreneurship and when it doesn't pay off. I have webinars that I've done on that have gone viral because I'm so honest. And I vowed that I would try to save women from making the same mistakes I did, which was overinvest $50,000 and just go for every shiny object syndrome that was available that I could afford and squeeze in my credit card. And right after that I had an ultimatum. Like I had 2 weeks to generate a certain amount of money, or I would have to go get a job somewhere. And I made it. I needed to make $6,000. I made $10,000. And after that, I've literally not made less than 5 figures since, except 2 months, one of them being in February this year, where I was like, what the happened? So I've been fairly successful. I did a webinar where, I'm trying to think where I'm going with this, but I cried and I told everybody the truth. I said, look, don't hire a coach that's like a physics teacher when you don't even know what algebra is. Come on. You like hire somebody that's 5 kids ahead of you, that sees your heart, that can see you, that can hear you. But if it's somebody that's so high out there that can't break things out for you because they went through them too long ago, forget it. It's not going to be so effective. It's going to land in like deaf ears, So I just told a bunch of things that were a little bit controversial, and then that really opened me up to. I thought my career was over because I told a lot of things that were a little controversial about the industry and stuff. This was a year change ago, so it was pretty early on. And what happened is that my business blew up. So that was one of my first lessons in being completely transparent and being raw and being authentic, that instead of people not buying from you, because that was my fear. Oh, if people knew that I actually have all this debt and I'm not really making that much money, like they wouldn't hire me. If I was just myself, and detach me from the bank account balance or the credit card balance, if I was just me, like that, they would still hire me. And when I told my story, my business actually blew up. When I got that first break, I wanted to crawl in a hole and like eat muffins all day. And I got sick. I was so overwhelmed by the responses I got. People wanted to talk to me, emails, messages, and I was like, gosh, I don't think I can handle this. Like, it's too much. So I don't know if you can relate to what I'm saying, but if overnight, if success was truly overnight, if it really happened overnight, if suddenly you got the 10 clients you want, or the 33 subscriptions, or, if you grew your page to 200,000 people overnight, like you would want to crawl in a hole and, do something that is an addiction probably, or shop till, or something. I don't know.
It's funny. I can actually relate to this story a couple years ago, because probably about 4.5 years ago, I first started the first kind of movement that led me into Wild and Creative, but the first one was called Connection to Creative. And it was all about, promoting creativity to everybody, making them understand that you can be creative every single day of your life, and you don't have to be an artist or a painter or a chef, that kind of thing. It's just every single day we create our life. So we started putting a bunch of inspirational quotes and everything like that. And literally our page did grow like to 150,000, like almost overnight. And I got to tell you, we were like almost kind of like paralyzed. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know what to offer. Now, mind you, I got to say that the online world is a little bit more progressive, even about 4 years ago. So there's a lot of stuff happening, there's a lot of stuff to see and kind of catch on and whatnot, but essentially at that time it was like kind of like pioneering our own thing. We did not know what to do, and I gotta say, like, back then I definitely was not able to receive even the information, or like the amount of hits on the website and things like that. It's almost like I was doing a disservice to myself. It was a very weird feeling, right? Because anybody would really want that. But, something is definitely said for building a strong foundation first, whatever that means. But we don't know what happens, right? So
for me, overwhelm, so in the infant receiving philosophy, overwhelm turns into, I call it the old O word, like the O word. We don't use that word in my world. We use opportunity for expansion. So if you're feeling the tug, if you're feeling the exhaustion or the fatigue, it's like, oh, that's an opportunity for me to expand my capacity to ask for help. There's an opportunity for me to expand my systems or something, right? It's an opportunity for me to stretch, because that's all it is. So, it's just, everything is reframed in my world anyway. But no, it's what happened to the Lindsay Lohans, right? What happened to came into fame, came into something. I had a client that submitted an article to the Huffington Post and it got 95,000 shares and likes in like no time, got invites to Good Morning America, and it just went massively viral. What happened? She shut down. Like, she did the interviews and she completely shut down, because if you're not prepared to expand with your stretches, then very likely you're going to contract.
Yeah.
That's a very inorganic thing. So for me, infant receiving is about expanding our capacity to receive. So I'll share one of the mantras with you because they really work. And people that even just do the mantras, they feel the shifts. And one of the mantras is, our capacity to receive expands infinitely every day. And basically, when I had my own epiphanies about receiving, I pictured that we each have a capacity to receive, and it's in the torso area, and that if you're not getting what you want, there's a contraction, and your connection to the infinite well where everything comes from is the size of a straw. And you have to widen those channels, because nothing can come through if you're contracted, right? And so how can you expand and then, widen your channels, expand your capacity to receive? And there's many things that you can do for that, but really starting with the visualization, right, of like, wow, what if with every breath, my receiving expands? Oh my gosh, it's like, like you get a house for free and you get an invitation to St. Bart's and you suddenly get a bunch of requests for interviews, and your life is like taken on this whole like magical carpet ride, which has been my life since I said yes to this. And I'm saying that,
So, okay. And it's so true though, because, when you say someone does get asked to do an Oprah size event and they are not ready, you do feel that scared feeling right in here, right? So of course that would be your.
And only the people that are ready to step up will actually capitalize on it. I think of the Sarah Blakely's of the world, a creator of Spanx. She was doing them out of her house. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yep. Right? Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know very well what Spanx are. So she started making them out of her own need, then out of her house, and she was still manually making them in her apartment, right? And then suddenly, somehow, Oprah gets a pair, and then she makes them into her favorite things. And then from like this little tiny production, she has to like generate millions, right? Like hundreds of, can you imagine the expansion that had to happen there in like the blink of an eye? Like, or I look at my friend Jen Scalia, for example. She went from like, doing like struggling, to like suddenly doing this and then getting this big quantum, like,
yeah.
The fact that she's maintained it and she stayed there, that tells me that woman's open, that woman's ready, that she is willing to ask for what she needs and do it. And not everybody can do that. So I feel like I've stepped into it, and now I'm being asked to expand a lot.
Yeah, you're going up the stairs, but you've got nice like handrails, so you're not going to fall because you're like getting up there. I've got a question though, and I think our listeners are going to want to ask you this too. So you were talking about your friend that had a massive breakthrough on, you said Huffington Post, right?
Yeah, sure.
Having to both. Okay, so that friend, just this example for, so she had a massive breakthrough, but she wasn't ready to really bring that into her life and implement it, right? So where's the barrier between her attracting that into her life and then not being able to handle it? Do you know what I mean?
So where is the barrier between asking for it, receiving it, and then not being able to handle it?
Because she obviously had you know, she attracted it into her life, right? So
Mm-hmm. So for me, I mean, at that point, and my mentor shared this with me a long time ago. He said that if you can't handle what's coming your way, you don't have enough support, right?
mm,
So at that time when this happened and when it's happened to me, it's always been like, I really, it's a lack of support. It's a lack of asking. For me, the block is not asking for support, maybe, or not getting all the support that you need because you don't want to bother anybody. And chances are people are not going to understand. We don't live in a world where people get big breaks like that every day.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I'm going through my own big break right now. It is not really a financial one. It's a big like awakening, you know, because I was given a very big assignment and it's taken off like wildfire in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But because I have had breaks before and contracted and had breaks and contracted, I knew that if it happened to me again, that I wouldn't go into contraction because I know what happens. When you go into contraction, you lose momentum and then you have to start over. And I don't know. I teach momentum. I'm not going to go there. So to me, a block when you have a big break and it comes to you and then you shut down or you can't really receive it is a block in asking for help. It's a block in believing that you deserve it. It's a block in you're not worthy. Really, your fear of success, like all those things come up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you feel like I'm a fraud. I'm not good enough. And so I almost feel like that has to happen a couple of times, you know, for you to then more safely dive into the expansion, the infinite you, what I call it.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem with that is that we all don't get big break. We all don't get big breaks often. You know, they come around every once in a while. So in my world, because I teach momentum, and I think that's the freebie that I want to share with you guys, if you allow me, I have this whole momentum calendar and how to get into a vortex and stuff, not from a law of attraction standpoint, but from a creativity and actually calling things into your life standpoint.
Nice.
And so, yeah, I mean, for me, I am now ready and able to handle it. I mean, I have a big transition. I'm moving onto another city in a couple of months. I have a 3-year-old, 2.5, and you know, moving on as a single mom, changing relationship status. I have enlisted an army of people to help me energetically, physically, to support my business. And I had the foresight because I didn't know this was going to be happening, to be completely honest, but now I feel like I'm more ready. I don't think, I'm definitely calling an Oprah into my life and she knows when she's going to come through.
Nice.
I would say in the next 3 to 6 months, it's okay if she can wait that long.
Yeah.
But I'm really open. I really am open because I now can clearly see why I am meant to be teaching spiritual prosperity and things from a completely different angle. I wouldn't mind sharing some of these common blocks.
Yeah, please do.
Helpful.
I'll tell you all the ones I have.
Okay. So deflecting compliments is a very big one. So
I was going to say, when you didn't mention that before, I was like, that's always something that I've definitely realized I had to be aware of. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's like the first one on my list. I just forgot it. But deflecting compliments, right? So when you deflect compliments, you're basically saying, are you sure you're seeing me that way? Like, are you sure? You know, saving the best for last is a classic. You have an amazing idea for a book, for a webinar, for something, or you have your best outfit. Guess what happens? You end up not using it. And when you use it, it's not as hot. Classic block to receiving because the universe has blessed you with this opportunity, this idea, or the opportunity to look amazing or something. And you're like, let me just wait. So that's a huge deflection.
Or people will say, you know, I'll do this. Oh, I'll go on that trip. That'll really make me happy when I lose 5 pounds or this and this and that.
Yeah, no, totally. Like the postponement for sure. You know? And then like, this is a classic one. Like, oh, do I need a new computer or do I need a new camera? When you already have a good computer and camera, it's like, you're always looking for that shiny object syndrome for sure.
Mm-hmm.
The comparisonitis, that's a big one, because what happens is when you're saying like, oh my gosh, that's Sarah, oh my gosh, she's got it made and I'll ever get there. What you're doing is you're energetically shrinking, you're energetically putting yourself down, and you're moving someone else up, and you're up, like you're looking up. And my antidote to that is to remind yourself that we're all peers in the human experience. It doesn't matter who you are. It could be Taylor Swift, or it doesn't matter,
And
we're all peers.
And how can you ever compare yourself truly to anybody, really? Because, I mean, we're all having such a different experience at any time, right? I mean, none of our thoughts are ever the same. None of our experiences are ever the same. I mean, someone might appear to have to be making more money than you, but you might be so much more fulfilled within your relationships. I mean, so you cannot compare. It's so easy to, I get that, but
and that's why I tell people, it's like, we're all peers. If you could just see everyone as a peer, like we're all peers in the human experience. We're all peers in the human experience, and just think of that and just kind of meditate on that. I feel like not speaking up and holding back your truth is a huge block to receiving, because you're interrupting the flow of giving and receiving. So you're holding on to stuff that is meant to be released and to be put out. Forget it. You're totally taking yourself out with that one, which is one that I've suffered from all my life. And I got to tell you a little bit of, I don't know if we'll have time, but anyway, there's like saying yes when you mean no, another one, waiting for things to be perfect to act.
That's a big one people struggle with, waiting for things to be perfect before they act, right? Like,
oh, for sure. It's the postponement. I feel like that it's a postponement. It's like, there'll be a perfect time or a perfect version or perfect iteration, perfect set of circumstances. And I know in my case, when I waited to leave corporate for like 5 years, that I was dreading to go. The minute I said, okay, I'm going, I found out I was pregnant. My partner ended up deathly ill in the hospital. I had just given my 2 weeks notice, so suddenly I went from free spirit to entrepreneur, caretaker, future mom, and future wife. And that was my perfect time. I had planned it that way. It was like everything was orchestrated. And then when I pulled the trigger, all this stuff went down, and I was like, how can I be open to this? So anyway, I have this list. I can share it. But yeah, there's very common things that we do every day that we affirm with our language all day that are blocking you, because everything you say, it's been proven scientifically, it's affecting your molecules. And so if you say, oh, I hate the fact that I didn't do that, or I sucked, instead of I nailed it, you say I sucked, then your molecules, your cells are going like this. Whoop. That's how I picture them. So anything you can really do to get yourself to open up, right? Connection, really speak up, have insane courage to hit push, to hit submit, to say something, really act on your ideas, not save them, not hoard them, because hoarding is definitely a blocking mechanism for sure. The more action you can take, the more you'll be in the flow, and the more opportunities you'll attract to you. I hope that helps.
I mean, such a big thing too, and I think you have kind of touched on this, not directly, but is someone's abundance threshold? What is their ability to receive, like money, right? So, for example, maybe you, in that time where everything seemed to be going well, but things went wrong, you kind of hit your abundance threshold, right? So, for example, I don't know, say you're making like $50,000 a year and you really want to make $100,000 a year. Your abundance cap threshold's probably at 50,000, right? Yes. But if we can, literally like crank our energetic dial into making it go up and up and up, that's when we can really expand. And it's funny because so many people will find that wherever their abundance threshold cap is for money, them and their partner are probably making a certain amount of money. As soon as they go up, if they're not ready for that, their car will conk out, or a big expense will come up, and it'll always have them staying at that same amount, right?
Right. So, yeah, thermostat.
Yeah. So what do you have as a little tool that we could possibly use to really like increase our abundance caps?
A couple of things. So I definitely recommend the mantra. So my capacity to receive expands infinitely. Okay. I would definitely say that. And I mean, you can add bank account or whatever, but truly I've just learned not to play God and not to dictate to the universe, like, okay, God, I want it this way, by when, how, I'm just like, my capacity to receive expands infinitely every day with every breath. So say something to the effect of expansion, like my capacity to receive expands daily, expands with every breath. Definitely try that, because I can't even tell you how many emails I've gotten from people saying, Maru, I healed my bronchitis because of your mantra. I was able to receive infinite oxygen. I was finally able to breathe it in, or I was finally able to whatever, right? And people are manifesting clients, money, healings, love, you name it. So I would say that something about your capacity is expanding infinitely. And then the other thing is, it just kind of left me. Hold on. So definitely watch the webinar. It'll come to me in a second.
Yeah.
But I would definitely say, oh yeah, I remember. So watch TV shows that show you what's possible, and surround yourself by people that have at least one or two people. If your circle, if you're the 5 people you surround yourself most with are your 2 kids, your husband, and your mom, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. That's why masterminds are so powerful. That's why having a coach and a mentor is so powerful. That's why going to networking groups is so powerful, because you have to put yourself in a position to start upping your judgment, like your judgment of how you make decisions, how you think, how you navigate situations. So I like check out how other people handle it. And the only way to do that is to be in their presence and to be connected to them. So I would say that, and watching shows. There's a show called Filthy Rich in CNBC, and I think it's on YouTube. And the insane things I've seen in that show have really helped me make my annual income into my monthly income.
Okay. Check it out.
Yeah, I mean, just because, when you see somebody dropping like $600,000 into 7,001 car.
Yeah.
Like literally, this is a true story, 7,001 cars. It makes you, it puts your life in perspective, right? And I'm not comparing myself. I actually let it stretch my imagination, stretch my mind. And I can honestly tell you that that's been a game changer. I also picture friends that have a lot of success and they're making $100,000 a month or $50,000 a month. And I'm like, wow, what would it be like? Have that amount of money coming at me? Can I handle it, right? And really feel more comfortable receiving that amount, right? And also the responsibility that comes with that. I think that's the part that takes most people out, is like, yes, I believe that I can get 100 clients, or I believe that I can be like Oprah, right? And then you're like, great, what is your capacity to receive the Oprah lifestyle, everything about her, not just the pictures on the magazine and the school in Africa and the vineyard. You know what I mean? But the paparazzi, the security, the millions of emails, millions of tags, correspondence, the detail, yeah. So yeah, I would say, but I think seeing that it's possible, right? I think it's important.
So I know you've touched on so many achievements, but what do you feel has been your biggest achievement to date?
You know what? Honestly, the ability to trust myself. I am the only thing that's consistent in terms of, whether I change niche or industries or anything. I would say to know that I can reinvent myself, that I can trust myself, that I can take action and it works. I think I was asked this question the other day and I responded that way, and I was like, you know what? I'm content with that answer. And I'll tell you why, because if my computer or my online business or this or that was taken away from me, for whatever reason, I still have me. And I think this has been a fun roller coaster, and it's definitely been a roller coaster, where many times I've been like, when is this going to end? But it's been a thrill. It's also been a thrill. And I think through it all is really the person I've become, a very resourceful, I would say that word, resourceful. I can trust my instincts. It doesn't matter where I am. I could be in China or Turkey or South America or in a situation. I trust myself. You know what I mean? And of course, some days more than others, but I do believe that I can tap into my accomplishments and my achievements and really look at what I've created and see how far I've come. And that in itself is probably the thing I'm most proud of. I could tell you, oh yeah, you know, I hit 6 figures and I, you know, and this and that, and I've met amazing sisters, I've met celebrity crushes, and I aspire to be like them and stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm content and satisfied with myself inside.
Mm-hmm. That's
because I keep trying. You know what, Sarah? I'm not perfect. I keep trying. I still avoid numbers. Like it's something I have to have, you know, somebody to help me with. I still addicted to Starbucks every day. It's something I haven't really seriously wanted to kick to the curb. I'm still carrying pregnancy weight from like 3 years ago. All those things are variables, right? So I'm not perfect, but I can honestly tell you that I'm doing the best I can. And I'm happy about that.
But what's perfect really? You know what I mean? I mean, that's just a comparison thing again, because I mean, someone might look at you and think that you're perfect already, right? It's just your little, you know, not so perfect checklist that you have going on in your own mind, right? And it's such a good point that you know, pointed out the internet. I've often thought about that too. I was like, all the work I do online, I was like, what if the internet just disappeared? Like, what would you do? Would everybody just be like twiddling their thumbs? You know what I mean? Like sitting at home? Or are you that sure of yourself where you could go out without a computer, without the internet, and still make money, or still do your business, or still be fulfilled, right? So yeah,
for sure. And I'm glad that you've thought about this. I really haven't thought about it from a scarcity point, like, oh my gosh, this is never gonna end. For me, it's more like I know wherever I am, I'm gonna be okay.
Yeah.
And that is peace. To me, that brings me a great deal of peace, because I know I'm resourceful and I know I can make things happen. And that confidence has come as a result of overcoming frustrations and a lot of tests, you know. And I'm an Infinite Receiver now, which is the brand, and it's pretty much everything I do. I trademarked it today, actually.
Nice.
No, this was born like 3.5 weeks ago. I'm telling you, this is the part that is so fascinating about the whole thing. And what I'm so proud of is that I've been able to act on it, maximize the experience, not just for me, but for others, because I do feel like this is something that is needed. I think people need to understand that, and this goes for all of you watching this. Meditation, visualization, tapping, vision boarding will only get you so far, but if you don't believe you deserve it, if you don't believe deep down that you have the capacity to host that dream, to be a great vessel for that, if you think you're a fraud, if you blocking it, you're never going to get it. And if you do, it's going to take you 60 years.
Well, we'll kind of end on that then. I think that's a good conclusion to our chat. Where can people find you?
Absolutely. So I run a wonderful Facebook group called The Happy Entrepreneur, where I give a lot of free resources, and definitely, so make sure you add me there. You can also find me on my website, Maru. Iabichela.com.
I'll put that in the bio. No problem.
And I also my YouTube channel. I do several webinars and I do a lot of things. So I think I'm going to also give you a copy to a freebie that I created on a momentum manifester and how to manifest momentum.
Awesome. That sounds amazing. So we'll put all that info in the bio. And I've got one last question for you. It's a doozy, okay?
Okay.
What makes you wild, creative, and confident?
What makes me wild, creative, and confident? So many things come to mind, but I would say the fact that I believe in my mission so much, and I believe in myself so much. I believe that every day above ground is a blessing, and that I got to figure out the ways to maximize my experience here and do what I can to maximize it for others. And that, as I've been able to get out of my head and unlearn a lot of the stuff that the online world kind of, I've been able to unlearn a lot of that. I've gotten into my more wild, creative side, which is I'm just going to do things outside the box, and I'm just going to do things my way. And if I think of something, I'm going to implement it right away. And I'm not going to have a funnel or this or that, or you know what I mean? All those things that tend to stop people. And really think that unlearning a lot of things has allowed me to tap back into my truth, which I do believe that deep inside we each have our own blueprint, our own voice, our own originality, and that we all need to tap more into it.
Well, thank you so much for chatting with us. I'm sure everybody has got so much information, and everyone will definitely tune into your freebie.
Oh, good. Please.
Oh yeah. Who wouldn't? Anyway, thank you so much. And thank you everybody for watching. It's been a pleasure having you on today. And make sure you head to the wildandcreative.com website and check out the new program, 6 Steps to Creative Success. Perfect. So anyway, talk to you soon. Thanks so much. Bye.
Thank you, everybody.